The millionaire's son was not blind. Only the poor housekeeper saw the shocking truth. Evelyn had worked at the Whitman estate for nearly 20 years, the quiet backbone of the mansion's endless dance of silverware and silk curtains. She was invisible, like a shadow that never quite caught the light, just background noise to the glitter and power claustrophobia of those rooms. But lately, something cracked. Something Evelyn couldn't look away from. Everyone believed Adam Whitman had lost his sight years ago, after that awful crash no one could stop talking about. A tragedy, sure. A blind son to contend with, the perfect story for the society papers. Adam was sweet, but fragile, or so it seemed. Yet Evelyn noticed little things, almost nothing, but electric in the way only truth can be, like last Tuesday. She was loading the dishwasher when a small crash echoed from the main hall. Evelyn froze, wiped her hands carefully, then stepped out. Adam stood near the broad window watching a bird dart through the garden. His head tilted slightly, and his eyes followed it, sharp and sudden, flames behind dark pupils like something pretending to be empty. Evelyn's chest tightened. She blinked fast. Maybe it was a trick of light, maybe she was fooling herself. But then, an expression flickered across Adam's face, cold, calculating. A flash that didn't belong to someone who was blind. She caught it and froze. Her breath caught. A small, secret smile, almost mocking, slipped for a heartbeat before he turned away. That night, the house seemed to close tighter around them. The silence was oppressive, cut only by the ticking of clocks and the distant hum of traffic far below the hill. Evelyn's mind raced. Why would Adam fake blindness? What was he protecting? And how deep did this lie sink beneath the glossy surface of wealth? She started watching him, carefully, quietly, every conversation, every glance, every strange hesitation. His movements were cautious, almost rehearsed. But his eyes betrayed him. Quick, sharp, alive. Then the call came. It shattered the usual calm, a harsh, crackling ring at the study phone. Evelyn, dusting nearby, caught the hurried whispers spilling through the receiver. Fear dyed the voice on the line. Urgency, panic, and secrets locked tight. The household staff shifted uncomfortably, exchanging worried looks. No one spoke. The air turned thick, alive with silent alarms. Evelyn's hands trembled as she stood near the window later that evening. Outside, Adam walked slowly into the fading light, the once golden sunset bleeding into bruised purple skies. His steps were steady, confident, but his eyes flicked, just for a moment, with something Evelyn had no name for yet. Something dangerous, dazzling, and fragile all at once. The truth was out there, and Evelyn was the only one who saw it. What was Adam hiding? And how far would the Whitman family go to keep their grand, broken secret safe? Hey, before we continue, with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Evelyn stood at the window, heart racing as Adam's figure disappeared into the twilight. The weight of her observations pressed down on her like a thick fog, ready to choke her if she didn't breathe deep. She felt an itch of dread crawling up her spine because she was sure he was hiding something. Something that could ripple through the entire Whitman family like a stone thrown into a still pond. As she turned back into the dimly lit kitchen, a muffled shout broke the silence. Something urgent. Something was wrong. She rushed down the hall and found the source. The study door stood ajar, light spilling out, revealing a frantic scene inside. Mr. Whitman, Adam's father, stood at his desk, his hands clenched, panic etched across his face. "Call him back," Mr. Whitman shouted to someone on the phone, tone thick with fear. "We can't let him go alone." Evelyn's breath caught. She stepped closer, the warmth of the room spilling over her like a wave. The atmosphere crackled with tension. She could hear only Mr. Whitman's voice, amplified by his growing frenzy. "Believe me, we will fix this. Just tell him to come home." Evelyn's heart raced faster. She leaned against the doorframe, straining to catch every word, every fragmented sentence. But then, just as she pieced together the chaos in the room, Adam appeared in the doorway, face pallid, breath quickening. "Dad, what's going on?" His voice quivered, breaking the intensity. "Adam, you shouldn't be here. Just go back to your room," Mr. Whitman snapped, his eyes darting like pinned butterflies. Before Adam could protest, the phone slipped from his father's grasp, clattering to the floor. It echoed eerily in the sudden hush that filled the space. Mr. Whitman's face drained of color. Too late. Evelyn's stomach dropped. She watched as realization dawned on Adam, a wild mixture of fear and confusion. What was happening? She felt adrenaline flood her veins. Then it happened. A sharp ring pierced the air, a knock that felt like a gunshot. The front door swung open. A stranger stood there, silhouetted against the fading light, breath misting in the night air. He looked disheveled, eyes wide and wild. There was something familiar about him. "Where is he?" the man rasped, voice strained and urgent. Panic radiated off him. "Where's Adam?" Evelyn's world tilted. Who was this man? And why did he look like he'd just walked out of Adam's nightmares? Mr. Whitman took a step back, shock writ large on his face. "What are you doing here? You shouldn't be here." The man glared, every muscle in his body tensing. "I don't care what you think. He needs to know the truth. It's all about to blow up, and if you don't tell him now, it won't matter. They'll come for him." Adam's breath quivered. "What truth? What do you mean?" The tension in the room thickened, slicing into the air like a knife. Everyone froze as the weight of the man's words settled in their chests. Evelyn's heart raced. She felt the walls closing in. The truth? What truth? Suddenly everything she knew about Adam shifted. Her heart pounded in her ears. Secrets were tumbling around them like shadows, and she was caught in the storm. What on earth was this stranger talking about? And just how deep did this mess go? She clenched her fists, desperate for answers. The night stretched ahead like a chasm, dark and deep. Whatever lay at the bottom, she wasn't sure she wanted to find out. But she had to know, and so did Adam. The truth was about to rip through their lives like lightning. Adam stood frozen, staring at the intruder, his glossy facade cracking under the weight of the revelation. Evelyn felt the room pulse with energy, tension coiling tighter than a spring ready to snap. The man's voice, trembling with urgency, hit like an unexpected gust of wind, ruffling everything in its path. "Stop." Adam's voice was sharp, cutting through the suffocating silence. "What truth? What do you know?" His confusion was palpable, eyes darting between his father and this stranger, something primal flickering in them. "Your father's been lying to you." The stranger stepped inside, urgency spilling from him like a dam breaking. "This isn't about your blindness. It's about what happened that night." His eyes pinned Adam like a spotlight, shaking with a mix of fear and anger. "Get out. You're not making any sense." Mr. Whitman's voice trembled, but there was an edge, a hint of panic that sent alarms ringing. But the intruder pressed on, undeterred. "Adam, don't. You see, you weren't in that accident alone. There was someone else, someone you need to remember." A chill lanced through the room. Evelyn felt it wrap around her, tightening, locking her breath deep inside. She had never seen Adam's father look so pale, his hands trembling, like he was holding a porcelain doll on the brink of shattering. "Shut up," Mr. Whitman barked, but the man's voice sliced through the space like a knife. "Your mother, she knows everything. She's the one who—" Before the man could finish, the sound of a shattering vase cut him off. Its pieces littered the floor, sparkling like a million stars crushed together, and they all turned to see Evelyn standing stiff, her hand trembling by her side. She hadn't meant to. but fear coursed through her veins like wildfire. "Evelyn," Adam's voice cracked, pulling her focus. "What do you know?" His gaze shot to her, seeking comfort or clarity, but all she felt was a rising tide of dread. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Not yet. She could feel the walls closing in, squeezing her thoughts. In that moment, they all hung in the air, breaths frozen, the heavy weight of unsaid words pressing down on them. "Mom, she's not here." Adam's voice fell to a whisper, disbelief washing over him. What could she possibly know? The intruder's expression turned toward Adam, the fear in his eyes giving way to something desperate, something deeply unsettling. "You need to find her before it's too late. They're coming." Each word was a stone dropped into the stillness, rippling out into chaos. "Who's coming?" Adam's question hung in the air. But as the stranger opened his mouth, a loud crash echoed from the entrance. The front door blasted off its hinges, shards of wood splintering across the marble floor. Evelyn jumped back, terror flooding through her. In rushed a group of shadowy figures, their faces masked and their movements swift, like wolves closing in on prey. "Run!" the intruder shouted, his voice ragged now, pulling Adam toward him. "We don't have time." But Adam stood rooted, eyes wide in shock. What's going on? His world tilted more than he could handle, every second pulling tighter, unraveling layers he thought were secure. "Adam, please," the man urged, fear and desperation intertwining in his voice, pulling at every heartstring. Evelyn felt the room tilt dangerously. Who were these people? What were they after? And how deep did Adam's mother's secrets run? Suddenly, Adam's expression shifted. Anger ignited, raw and fierce. "You brought this here. You opened the door to chaos." He turned on the intruder, fists clenched, betrayal etched across his face. But before another word could spill out, Evelyn's heart began to race. She noticed in the corner of her eye a glimmer of something on the floor, a photo, half hidden beneath the broken vase. She bent down, her heart beat like thunder, and as her fingers brushed the surface, a gut-wrenching realization slammed into her. This photo, it was of Adam. But beside him was a girl. They looked so happy, so alive. But it wasn't just anyone. It was someone who should have been a memory, a ghost, a name long buried. "Evelyn," Mr. Whitman's voice cut through chaos, fear lacing his tone. "Leave it. Don't touch that." But she was already pulling it into her grasp, staring at their faces, a tidal wave of truth rushing in. The room tensed again. Momentum shifted. What had she stumbled upon? The truth felt like a tattoo on her heart. This was more than a lie. This was a tangled web of deception, and she was right in the middle of it. All eyes snapped back to her, and in their gaze was the weight of 1,000 secrets unspooling. She swallowed hard, the lump in her throat threatening to choke her. What had she just uncovered? And what price would they all have to pay to uncover the deeper truth that linked them all? Adam's hands curled into fists, anger sparking between breaths. The intruder pressed forward, his face desperate, almost wild. The air was thick with unspoken truths, and Evelyn could feel the room pulsing. But her eyes were glued to the photograph lying in her hand, a connection to a life unknown. "Leave it, Evelyn," Mr. Whitman shouted again, his voice heavy with a mix of fear and authority. But something was breaking inside her, like fragile glass cracking under pressure. She couldn't just put it down. Now, not with everything spiraling out of control. "Why?" Adam demanded, confusion and outrage wrestling for dominance in his voice. "What does this have to do with me?" The intruder, panting as if he'd run a marathon, finally ventured closer to Adam. "Because you're not just Adam Whitman. You were born Carter. You have a sister, not some distant memory, a sister who's still alive." Silence enveloped them, a thick blanket stifling their breaths. The room lost its shape, the walls closing in as those words settled heavily upon them. Evelyn's heart raced. "A sister?" "Liar," Adam shouted back, his voice trembling with disbelief. But even the indignation in his words couldn't disguise the flicker of curiosity in his eyes, a crack in the facade he wore like armor. "It's true," the man pressed on, desperation tightening his features. "You need to remember, Adam. She's in danger, and you need to find her before." Before he could finish, the masked intruders surged forward, crashing into the room like a tidal wave of chaos. Evelyn's body jolted, every instinct screaming for her to run, but her feet felt glued to the floor. "Get down!" someone shouted. The hurtling figure swept past her, and she ducked instinctively behind the desk, heart pounding. The air exploded with voices, commands, shouts, fear blanketing everything. Adam remained standing, shocked, frozen in place. "Protect him," a voice called out from the chaos. Evelyn peeked from behind the desk, eyes wide, and caught a glimpse of Adam's father. Anguish rippled across Mr. Whitman's face, raw fear etched into every line. "No, not my son." Evelyn's heart sank. There was something deeper at play here. She felt it in her bones as she watched the intruders sweep the room, searching, scanning, like wolves hunting for any sign of their prey. "Carter," the intruder yelled, drawing their attention. "Don't let them get to him. They think he's just blind, but they'll realize the truth." Suddenly, chaos erupted. A masked figure lunged for Adam, but he whipped around, the fear igniting a fire within him. "Let go of me," he screamed, fury crashing through him. He fought back, and in that moment, something primal and powerful surged in the air. Evelyn felt her lungs seize, the tension thick enough to choke on. All she could think was that this photograph contained answers, something tying everything together like a puzzle, yet slipping away just as quickly. The intruder was shouting again, but she couldn't catch the words through the explosion of noise. She could feel every heart racing, a collective heartbeat echoing through the chaos. And then, just as it seemed the shadows would consume them, the lights flickered. First once, then twice, plunging them into darkness. A gasp swept through the room. Moments later, blinding light flooded back, but everything had changed. In that split second, the intruder was gone, vanished into thin air. The floor was littered with debris, the chaos reeling like a nightmare. Adam looked around bewildered, calling, "What just happened? Where did he go?" Evelyn's breath hitched. Adam turned to her, eyes wide, searching. "Evelyn, you know something." In that moment, the walls that held their family secrets felt like they could collapse at any second. Shadows loomed larger than life, and the truth felt more elusive than ever. Suddenly, the shattered pieces of the photograph in her hand caught her eye again, and she knew she had to find out what it meant. She had to uncover the truth of his sister, of the danger surrounding them. "Adam," she whispered, her mind racing. I think we're in deeper than we ever imagined, and we're not alone in this." A new storm was brewing on the horizon, and she could almost hear the thunder rumbling. Just how far down the rabbit hole would they go? What other horrors awaited? The night felt charged with electricity, secrets spiraling in every direction. What else was hidden in the shadows? Evelyn held the photo tightly, her fingers shaking as the chaos around her intensified. She could barely breathe, the weight of the truth pressing down on her chest. Adam's eyes darted between her and the shattered remains of his life, the strands of reality fraying like an old tapestry. "Who is she?" Adam's voice was raw, broken. "Is that my sister?" Evelyn opened her mouth, but the words caught in her throat. Just then, the lights flickered again, buzzing ominously before plunging the room into darkness. The piercing silence that followed sent chills down her spine. She could feel tension crackling like static, filling the air with an electric buzz. Then, in a flash, the lights blinked on. But something was different. The intruders had vanished, and the atmosphere felt heavier, saturated with a sense of foreboding. The front door lay ajar, swinging slightly in the ghostly hallway beyond, like the remnants of a terrible storm. "Where are they?" Adam's voice trembled. Panic simmered just below the surface. Before anyone could respond, a loud crash resonated from the study, sending a jolt through Evelyn's body. Turning instinctively, she felt the cold dread twist in her stomach, rushing towards her like a tidal wave. "Stay here," Mr. Whitman barked, his voice sharp and fear-laced. But Adam was already moving, driven by a need for answers, his eyes aflame with determination. Evelyn exchanged a worried glance with him, but he was already out the door, racing into the chaos of the study. She followed, feet pounding against the floor, heart racing. Inside, the room was a whirlwind of overturned furniture and fractured glass. It felt like a scene from a nightmare, shadows stretching in every corner. But her gaze landed on the most shocking sight, an antique mirror hanging crookedly on the wall, reflecting a strange flickering image she couldn't quite place. "Evelyn, look!" Adam shouted, pointing to the mirror. She stepped closer, and as she peered into the glass, her heart froze. There, pressed against the back of the room, was not just a reflection, but a ghostly figure, one she recognized immediately. "Is that?" Her breath caught. The face was almost ethereal, but unmistakable. "We have to get out of here," Mr. Whitman shouted, his face ashen, fear ripping through his voice. But Evelyn couldn't look away. Suddenly, the air shifted. An inexplicable force seemed to ripple through the room, like an unseen presence spiraling around them. The mirror quaked, and with a sudden crash, it shattered entirely, pieces raining down like confetti, sending shards slicing through the air. Adam gasped, and as the last glimmering shard fell, someone, stepped through the fractured surface. Evelyn's heart dropped as a familiar figure emerged from the debris. It was the woman from the photograph. But she looked different, more real, more alive. "Carter, Adam," she cried. Hands outstretched, a wild look in her eyes. "You have to listen to me. I'm not safe. They're coming for me." Evelyn blinked, disbelief settling deep in her gut. Every instinct screamed to run, but all she felt was a compelling pull toward this woman, this haunting specter that shattered everything they thought they knew. "Who are you?" Adam stammered, his face shifting between fear and recognition. "What did you do? How are you here?" But as she wove her tale, Evelyn caught a glimpse of something in the woman's gaze, a flicker of recognition that sent a shockwave through her own heart. Somehow, deep down, she understood. This wasn't just about Adam anymore. This was about family, about choices made in the dark. Suddenly, the room plunged back into darkness, the last light extinguished, but the woman's voice echoed, hauntingly strong even through the blackness. "Everything's at stake. You were never blind, Adam. You were always meant to see." Evelyn's chest tightened painfully. "What does that mean?" And just like that, the room dissolved into chaos once more, leaving them standing on the precipice of a truth that might pull apart everything they thought they knew. Evelyn's heart raced impossibly fast as the woman, this ghost from Adam's past, stood before them, frantic and pleading. "You have to listen to me." The urgency in her eyes made the air thick with desperation. "They want you both. You have to get out." But before she could finish, the lights flickered again, plunging them back into darkness. The oppressive silence pulsed around them, wrapping up every thought, every scream. Then, with a crash, the door flew open again. This time, it wasn't just the intruders. It was a storm of chaos, a surge of people flooding into the room. Agents all dressed in black suits, faces hard as stone. And right behind them, someone Evelyn never expected, her own mother, eyes wide with betrayal. "Mom?" The words slipped out of her before she could stop it. The shock ran through her like ice water. The room spun. Adam's face morphed from confusion to anguish, a jarring contrast to the urgency radiating from the woman. "Why is she here?" he demanded, a surge of anger rising in him. Evelyn felt herself drifting, lost in the tide of emotion swirling through her as Adam's gaze shifted back to the woman. "What's happening?" "You can't trust her. She's not who she says she is," Adam's mother shouted, her voice slicing through the electric tension. She's part of it." "Part of what?" The words tumbled from Evelyn's lips, breathless. She was gripping the photograph tight, the burning realization sinking deeper. But the ghostly woman's voice rose. "You need to know the truth, Adam." Then chaos erupted. The agents moved like lightning, sweeping in and encircling them. "Get them!" one shouted. "No, stop!" Adam shoved his way forward, hands balled in fists. The air crackled with tension. Evelyn could practically feel it pulse around them. A heart-stopping moment stretched. And without warning, the agents lunged. Evelyn's world splintered. She spun away, ducking as a figure slipped through the grasp of the agents and barreled toward Adam, reaching for him. "Carter, I'm here," the woman cried, an endearing fierceness in her tone as she grabbed his arm. The chaos descended like a storm. Bodies collided, shadows flickered, and everything seemed to explode into fragments. Suddenly, Evelyn felt a sharp searing pain slice through her side. Something hard jabbed her. She gasped, eyes widening. "Mom, no!" Evelyn screamed, as she turned just in time to see her mother staring aghast, mouth open, holding what looked like a gun, cradling it with trembling hands. Time appeared to freeze. The whole room blinked, caught in a surreal tableau. Panic surged. Evelyn's breath caught in her throat. You shot me?" she whispered, regret spilling from her voice. "I didn't mean to." Her mother wailed, tears streaming down her face, her anguish raw. "I was trying to protect you. They're not who you think they are." The ghostly woman turned sharply, eyes alight with realization. "Your mother knows the truth. You have to trust her." Evelyn's mind was a tempest. Everything she thought she knew shattered like that mirror moments before. Who were these people? Who was she supposed to trust? A loud shout pierced the chaos. "Carter, stay close." The urgency in Adam's voice rang through everything, pulling her back to the moment. And then, just like that, another series of loud gunshots echoed in, the air sharp and echoing. A flood of panic. "Evelyn, get down!" shouted Adam, his eyes wide with fear. The agents turned, chaos unfurling around them. Stray bullets grazed the walls, and she felt her feet finally break free, propelled to escape, but the weight of betrayal anchored her. The ghostly woman lurched forward toward her, piercing fear clouding her features. "Trust me, Evelyn, please." What was she about to step into? What other secrets were layered thin around them, just waiting to unravel? Evelyn took a deep breath as the gunfire continued, and the world felt like it was collapsing in a whirlpool of chaos. Who could she trust? And the truth, what truth awaited them all? As darkness loomed and chaos swelled, she knew she was teetering on the edge of uncovering something far worse than she ever imagined, pulling deeper into the shadows with every desperate heartbeat. Evelyn felt time stretch and twist around her, shadows playing tricks as the chaos swirled. The woman, this spectral presence, was pleading. "You don't understand. They're not just after you. They've targeted your whole family." Adam's face was a mask of confusion, flickering between anger and fear. "Get away from me." The panic radiated off him like heat from flames. "What are you talking about?" Evelyn wanted to scream. She felt her heart pounding in her chest like a drum. The room was alive with danger, every second stretching painfully. "Trust her, Adam," Mr. Whitman shouted, hands shaking as the masked agents surged closer, their aggression mounting. The tables were turning. Chaos was leaping from person to person like wildfire. "Mom, what's going on?" Evelyn turned to her mother, desperation spilling out. She had to know, but the woman's face was a mask of regret, lips trembling, eyes wide with fear. "I only wanted to protect you. When I saw you coming home, I thought I could." But before she could finish, the sound of a gunshot shattered the air, sharp and slicing through confusion. Evelyn heard someone gasp, and then pain erupted. She whipped around, only to see Adam, stumbling back as his hand flew to his chest. "No!" Evelyn screamed, every nerve in her body igniting with terror. Adam's wide eyes darted, shock flooding his face. Disbelief clawing at every inch of him. Blood blossomed on his shirt, crimson soaking through fabric like a painful bloom. "Adam!" She lunged toward him, but instinct kicked in, pulling her back. The masked men were closing in, circling like wolves, and every instinct urged her to run. He fell to the ground, confusion twisting into pain. Evelyn. His voice was a whisper, and everything inside her caved in. I can't breathe. In that moment, time twisted again. The world narrowed down to just one sound, Adam's labored breathing. She knelt by his side, the ground cold against her knees as panic flooded through her. Stay with me, she cried, her hands shaking as she pressed down on his wound, desperately trying to stem the flood of red. He gasped, eyes fluttering as his breath quickened. Evelyn, you have to listen, the truth. Just focus, don't talk. But fragments of his words got tangled in her mind. What truth? What could possibly matter now? And then beneath the chaos, another voice rose, deep and authoritative. Stop, pull back. A new figure had arrived, stepping into the chaos from the shadows, his presence shifting the tension in the room. The suited man radiated power, and everyone froze. Your father, the newcomer said, looking straight at Mr. Whitman. It stops now. Evelyn's eyes widened. Who are you? That voice, it was unmistakable. The familiarity struck her like a blow. Jonas, Evelyn whispered, disbelief surging through her. Jonas, Adam's older brother, long presumed dead. How was he here? How had he turned up just when everything was crumbling? Carter, we don't have time, he urged, stepping forward. Get him out of here. With a shaky breath, Evelyn turned back to Adam. He was fading, confusion morphing into terror, and she felt helpless. Adam, stay with me, please. But Jonas moved with purpose, commanding the room. You're in danger, both of you. The family. It's all a trap, designed to keep you blind. Blind? Adam barely managed to get the word out. What do you mean? Your eyes were never the issue. Your father, he wanted you to be... Jonas's voice cut off, the urgency escalating. Suddenly, Mr. Whitman turned, rage darkening his features. Enough. The wave of his voice was like thunder, a storm brewing beneath desperate moments. But Jonas didn't flinch. You never wanted him to know, did you? You thought losing me would keep everything secret, but it just made it easier for you to control him. Evelyn felt the air crackle with violent energy, truths and lies colliding. Control? What is this about? Everything began to shift. You need to understand, Jonas pressed, now fully focused on Adam. It goes beyond one accident. Your blindness, your mother hiding. It was never just about keeping you safe. Another loud crash echoed through the chaos, pulling the room into shock again. He's coming, Jonas shouted, just as more masked figures surged into the room. The tide of danger was rising, and Evelyn's heart raced with fear for Adam. What did this all mean? What was hidden within their family that was worth this kind of danger? As Jonas reached for Adam, as chaos loomed, one blinding thought hit her hard. Who's coming? The answer could change everything. But would she ever find out before it all spiraled out of control? Evelyn's heart pounded in her chest, disbelief flooding her senses, as Jonas spoke urgently about Adam's life. The two masked agents surged forward, menacing shadows in the chaos, yet Jonas remained steadfast, a resolute figure, where fear and urgency met. Carter, you need to trust me. It's the only way. Who's coming? Adam gasped, as blood soaked through his shirt, staining the fabric crimson, his strength draining fast. But before Jonas could answer, a piercing scream erupted from the back of the room, a voice familiar and haunting. Evelyn. The terrified call cut through the tumult like a knife. Evelyn whipped around, eyes wide. It was her mother, but she trembled, a pallor washing over her face. No, please, it's not safe. Then, in a blur of chaos, scattered agents and broken furniture, something shifted. The air crackled with anticipation. The door slammed shut, sealing them inside. Shadows flickered like angry ghosts. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed, pulling everyone's attention. The window shattered, shards exploding into the room like rain. And just like that, time stopped for an agonizing heartbeat. Get down, Jonas shouted, pushing Adam to the floor, shielding him with his body. Evelyn followed, instincts screaming to run. but a figure stepped through the scattered glass, silhouetted against the dim light. A tall man, face obscured, but the familiar aura sent a jolt through her. "Carter," he rasped, voice low and trembling. Evelyn stood frozen, heart thrumming wildly. "Jake," she whispered, recognizing him as he emerged from the gloom, eyes wild and determined. It was Adam's older brother, thought lost forever, thought dead. "How?" Adam breathed, disbelief morphing into hope, pain still evident in his voice but overshadowed by this resurgence of familial connection. "He's alive," Jake pressed forward, sweat glistening on his brow, like the truth finally breaking free. "You have to understand, everything Dad told you, it was all a lie. None of it is." "What it seems. What do you mean?" Adam's voice was trembling, confused, grasping for clarity amid the tumult. Before Jake could respond, the air shifted again. Evelyn felt a surge ripple through the room, thickening every heartbeat. Suddenly, bright light exploded from nowhere, blindingly bright, and a scream erupted, a discordant shriek rattling their very souls. Evelyn's eyes scrunched shut against the brightness. As the light blinked and flowed, she heard a crack, a violent sound that threatened to rupture the fabric holding this moment together. The world seemed to fracture. Stunned silence enveloped them. The light faded to reveal the room transformed. The cozy study morphed into something more, a stark laboratory, cold and sterile, bright lights overhead illuminating the chaos below. The masked figures were suddenly gone. The screaming ceased. The walls enveloped them in an eerie stillness, trapping them in a faux stillness, producing only the low hum of machines. Evelyn blinked slowly as if awakening from a dream. No longer were they in the grand estate. They were in a high-tech facility that seemed borrowed from a nightmare. Screens flickered with indecipherable data, echoing their secrets into the dim light. She felt the weight of dread settle in her stomach. "Where are we?" Adam whispered, disoriented. His voice was small, fragile against the vast unknown looming ahead. Jake's brow furrowed in a way she'd never seen before. "This was your father's secret. A facility for experiments, for control." He stole a glance at Evelyn, desperation etched across his face.
"For you, Evelyn, it's all about your potential."
Evelyn's heart raced and panic rocketed through her mind. What potential? But before the words could settle, a new voice erupted from behind them.
"What a surprise, Adam. Looks like family reunions happen under quite the circumstances."
Evelyn turned slowly, dread washing over her. A woman stepped into view, tall and confident, eyes as piercing as daggers. Her face was eerily familiar, yet twisted in ways Evelyn couldn't reconcile. "Mom," she whispered, eyes wide with horror, unable to comprehend the rightness or wrongness of this blazing truth. Her mother tilted her head, lips curling into a wry smile. "Yes, darling. I'm afraid I've been a bit of a mystery, haven't I?" Everything Evelyn thought she knew shattered like glass. The pieces fell around her, each fragment a whisper of betrayal. She felt the walls closing in, the air thickening with secrets that had been brewing in a cauldron of lies for years. "Why?" Adam's voice shook, with a mixture of anger and pain. "What have you done?" With a visit of horror that swept joy from their hearts, she took a step forward, her smile widening. "I didn't just protect you, Adam. I made you more than you realize. You're special, and now it's time to embrace what you're meant to be." Silence stretched in the space among them, heavy and poignant, the truth teetering on the edge of devastation. Will they understand too late? What was Adam? What had he been turned into? The revelation loomed larger than life itself, the shadows growing indignant each passing breath. Evelyn's heart raced. This was more than she dreamed. What lay ahead? Secrets were poised to break free in that moment of unimaginable chaos. How deep would the roots of deception sink? Her world twisted. How could she trust her own heart now? The truth hung there, a bated breath before the storm. Would their lives unravel as soon as the words escaped, transforming everything they thought they knew? In that heavy stillness, She could already feel the ground beneath them shifting, teetering on the brink of chaos. Evelyn could barely process the sight of her mother, the woman who once felt like a distant memory, now standing right before her. The tension crackled in the air, a mix of disbelief and fear swirling around like smoke. "What did you do?" Her voice was raw, each word strained with questions, accusations, and confusion. "Evelyn, please, I did what I had to," her mother said, her eyes darting nervously between the brothers, panic flickering like a candle in a storm. "They were trying to use you, control you. I didn't want you or Adam to get hurt." "No," Adam shouted. "You were supposed to protect us, not turn us into whatever this is." His voice broke, the pain twisting in his chest. Blood seeped through his fingers, staining the floor, and the truth in every word. "Look around." His mother gestured wildly, a desperate plea hosting her every frantic movement. "It's not safe for you. None of it is. Your father, he's trapped in this web of secrets. He wanted control over all of it, including you." Evelyn's heart sank. Adam was slipping away, and their mother's frantic explanations felt like sand slipping through her fingers. "What secrets? What are you not telling us?" Suddenly, the lights flickered again, illuminating their surroundings, like a heartbeat. Shadows shifted, alive with tension. The atmosphere pulsed with danger. Just as the chaos seemed to settle momentarily, another sound broke through, soft at first, almost undetectable, but it grew louder, a mechanical whirring, metallic and sinister. From behind the wall of screens, a door creaked. The air grew thick. Every eye turned toward it as a figure stepped out, tall and imposing, an executive from a hive of secrets. He moved with confidence, cold, calculated. The others stepped back instinctively, uncertainty flooding their expressions. "Quite the family reunion," he said, voice smooth, a chilling smile curling his lips. "How nice to see the Whitman legacy all gathered in one place. So touching." Evelyn felt the hairs on her arms stand up, every instinct screaming at her to flee. "Who are you?" she demanded, voice trembling. "Me? I'm the architect of your family's future." His eyes glimmered with something dark. "But I see you've come unraveled. No matter. We can fix that." "Fix it how?" Adam spat, trying to stand, but his legs shook beneath him. "By controlling us? Controlling what I become? In?" That moment, everything shifted. A sudden blare broke through the tension, and an alert rang out across the facility, a warning siren shrieking in the silence. Lights dimmed, alarms pulsed, panic gripped the room. "Code red, code red," the voice echoed through speakers, transforming the air into a whirlwind of fear. "All personnel evacuate immediately." "What is happening?" Evelyn shouted, her pulse racing as the urgency pressed against her chest. "Your father's plan is unraveling faster than I anticipated," the man sneered, as he pulled something from his coat, something small yet ominous, glinting sharply under the fluorescent lights. "And it's time to clean up." With the flick of his wrist, he pressed a button, and the facility around them began to shudder violently. A series of explosions echoed in the distance, rattling the very foundation beneath them. Evelyn felt ice wrap around her heart. "What did you do?" Her voice barely managed to rise above the frantic noise. "Just a little insurance policy," he smirked, eyes shining with madness. "You think you could uncover the truth and walk away? No, no. The Whitmans are bound to this place. You can't escape it, and when the dust settles, you will all be mine, again." In that instant, a jolt of realization struck her. This wasn't just about escaping. It was about uncovering the truth behind every illusion, every distorted thread that had woven their lives together. The air felt heavy with betrayal, shadows dancing across the chaos. What really bound them to this? "Nightmare? Mom!" Evelyn turned desperately, locking eyes with her mother. "Is he telling the truth? Are we trapped?" But before anyone could speak, the ground shook violently, sending everyone crashing to the floor, limbs entwined in chaos. A glimmer of hope faded as darkness enveloped them. Evelyn struggled to her feet as the room around them whirled. "We have to go! Now!" The walls trembled, alarms blaring. But as they turned, Adam's eyes locked onto hers, wide with fear and pain. "Evelyn, I can't see." A fresh wave of terror crashed over them, every fear pooling into one shattering realization. The very fabric of their lives was a lie, and the truth felt further away than the darkness closing in. Would they all survive the storm brewing just outside their grasp? Would they ever truly escape the horrors of their fractured reality? And as the world around them fell apart, time hung unbalanced on the tip of a knife, questions swirling like leaves in the wind. Evelyn's heart raced as the floor shook beneath her. The sirens wailed like banshees, and light poured through the shattered windows, cutting through the darkness like a beacon. She could feel the tremors in Adam's hand as he struggled to remain upright. "Mom!" She turned, desperation flooding her. "Is this really about protecting us? Or have you just wanted power?" Her mother's face twisted in pain, tears pooling in her eyes. "I only wanted to keep you safe. I thought if you didn't know, you wouldn't have to bear the burden of our family's legacy." The sirens shrieked again, and the man smirked, a predator cornering its prey. "You are too late to change the past. This legacy is alive, and soon you will all become part of it." Evelyn moved protectively in front of Adam, adrenaline surging through her veins. "What legacy? What do you mean?" "Your blood carries the true power, Evelyn," he called back, voice chillingly calm. "All of you. And you will do exactly as the Whitman lineage has always done, succumb to the family destiny." Suddenly, the ceiling above them erupted with a loud crash. Debris rained down, scattering across the ground like meteorites of destruction. "Run!" Evelyn screamed, propelling Adam forward, but he faltered, his breath ragged and uneven. "Come on, we can't let this place swallow us." She tugged at him, pure instinct driving her as they barreled toward the exit. Her mother cried out, "No, you can't escape your fate." But her words melted into the cacophony of chaos behind them. Evelyn's pulse thundered as the atmosphere buzzed with impending danger. They stumbled outside, just into the open, where shadows flickered in the fluorescent lights, revealing a massive convoy of black SUVs lined up like knights ready for battle. "Help!" Adam gasped, clutching hold of her shoulder. "I can't breathe." "Just hold on," she urged, panic seeping through every word. They found shelter behind a sturdy pillar, with heavy machinery beyond. She could see the agents moving, searching the area relentlessly for them. "Adam, look at me." She gripped his chin, forcing him to meet her gaze. "You're stronger than this. We will get through it. That man, he's not just a random enemy. It goes deeper," Adam rasped, the realization hitting him like a brick. "The truth about why I've been blind, and us being connected to something bigger. That's why we need to move," Evelyn nodded, forcing a brittle smile, even as dread clawed at her guts. "But first, we need to find your brother and get out of here." Suddenly, Jake emerged from the shadows, breathless and panicked. "Over here, I'll lead you." They sprinted toward Jake, adrenaline surging. As they rushed down the winding corridors of the facility, an explosion blasted. From behind them, the walls trembled and dust rained down like confetti in a dark celebration. "Faster!" Jake shouted, guiding them through a maze of chaos, and for a fleeting moment, they took a collective breath. They burst through a set of double doors, just as more armed guards surrounded them. "Stop!" one shouted, but Jake lunged forward, taking them by surprise. "They're not what you think," he growled, pushing past them, leading them outside into the cool night air. Evelyn pulled Adam close as they burst into the open, breathless and shaken, and the night sky seemed to embrace them. As the reality of what they'd just escaped settled in, fear mixed with an undeniable sense of freedom. Adam glanced at her, the dim moonlight illuminating his features, still marred with pain. "Evelyn, I don't know what happens next." She stepped closer, eyes fierce. "We face it together. Honestly. We'll uncover the truth about our family. No more secrets. I promise.
At that moment, a flicker of hope broke through the darkness swirling around them. Together, they stood on the precipice of reclaiming not just their lives, but everything that had been stolen, their future. With hands intertwined, they walked towards the cars parked on the outskirts, leaving the fires of chaos behind. They were bound now, by blood, by courage, by truth. But as they climbed into the vehicle, Evelyn couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The story was far from over, but they were ready to write the next chapter with their own hands. As dawn broke, illuminating their path, strength surged within them. The world ahead had mysteries untold, the urgency of life rippling through every choice they would make. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button right now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comment section with your thoughts and theories about this ending. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. You have to subscribe right now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share this. Real fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.